Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. So, in the last session, we have seen about JavaScript part 1, where we have covered the very basic things like we have started with what is JavaScript, then the difference between where, let, and cons, that what is functional scope, what is your block scope, right? After that, we have seen array and the types of some built-in functions in the array like push and pop. To push an element at the last index, we use push, and then to delete an element from the last position or last index of an array, we use pop, right? Then we have seen about shift and unshift. Through unshift we can push at the first place, and through shift we can delete from the first index. So these things we have covered. Then how to transform a existence array to a new array, that we can done through map, right? All these basic things we have already covered. So today also we are not like covering something which will be very difficult for you to understand. So just start with the basic things and then everything will be clear to you. What we are going to do in today's session, first of all, we will see about loops. Okay, like what are the loops? For loop, while loop, if else loop, and your ternary operator also. Okay, these things we will cover first. After that, we will move to the functions part, like what are the arrow functions. So you have to be the idea about the arrow functions also. And after that, we just create a button. Through that, we will implement the counterpart. Means that I will create a button, and on clicking the plus button, it will increase the counter, and on clicking on the minus sign, it will decrease the counter. So how to create this dynamic part through the JavaScript, that we are going to see. Okay. Yeah. So let's start with the session. Let me share my screen just a second, and then we are good to go. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to all of you. We will just simply open our VS Code because everything we are doing practically, so that you will have a long lasting impact. So let me just remove all the things written over here. These things we have already covered, right? Okay. So what is the first thing which we have to do? We have to first of all check about the loops part. Okay. So what are the loops? So first of all, we will basically start with the for loop. Every one of you are familiar with loop from your languages like C, Java, whatever you have done. So same thing is there. First of all, we have to initialize the initial value of a particular variable. Then we have to write a condition that until this up to this condition, I have to execute my loop. And after that, a increment operation, so that your loop will increase the value of initialized value, right? So basically, why we use loop? If we have to perform a same task multiple times, then we can repeat it through our for loop. Okay, so I am just consoling this I console.log, and here what basically we can do, we can just ask simply about the values of I. Okay, let's do. See what will happen. Let me just first of all dry run it. Let me tell you that how the flow goes. First of all, I is initialized to 0. They will check the value. Is I less than 10? So I is 0 and 0 is definitely less than 10. So the condition is true. So it will jump to the inner part and execute whatever is written inside for loop. So it will just simply console 0 to our this terminal. Okay, then what will happen after the execution of this part? It will go to jump to this line I plus plus, means increment the value of I by 1. So what will be the value? Previously 0, now what it is? 1. Now condition will be checked again. Now the I value is initialized to 1. 1 is less than 10, the condition is true. Again, it will move to this part, that console.log, the value of I, which is right now 1. Same thing will happen until and unless we reach to the value 10. Why? Because as soon as we reach 10, what will happen that I value is initialized to 10 now. 10 is less than 10. No, this condition is false. 10 is equals to 10, not less than 10. So at that time, it will just come out of this loop, and accordingly, you will get the output from 0 to 9. So how to execute this file? Node space index.js, right? This was the file. Okay, so you can see the output 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And on 9, it is stopping. So yes, it is working fine. So this is basically the for loop in JavaScript. Okay, then we can check for while loop. So in while loop, basically in for loop, what was happening, that you know that at this particular point of that, if you know that how many times you want the iteration, then for loop is preferred. Okay, if you know that you have to do this task 10 times, you have to do this task 20 times, then it is easy, then it is preferable to use for loop. But when you don't know that how many times you have to like expand your loop, right? So in that case, we will use while loop. So let me just write while loop also. So this while loop basically checks the condition at first. Means at the entry level, we have to check the condition. I am just removing this for loop now. Okay. I am initializing let I is equals to 0. I'm just doing this. Now inside this while loop, the condition is checked. If I is less than equals to 5, means if I is less than or equals to 5, then what to do? Just console.log I. Console.log the value of I. Quite simple for you to understand. And after that, see, because initial value is 0 and you want this thing to continue until and unless that I meets with the value 5, right? So for that, you have to increment it also. So how to increment it? Using I++. Means increase the value of I by 1 every time as you enter this particular loop and print this particular line. So let's check with the output. Let me clear the terminal first, and then you can see we are getting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As soon as I remove this equal sign from here and then again execute this program, now 5 will not come. Why 5 is not coming now? Because the condition is not matching. If I is becoming 5, then 5 is not less than 5. Why we are using I++? So that one by one, after each execution, the I value will increase from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, so on. Okay. I hope it is clear to you that what is for loop, what is your while loop. Correct? Okay, these things are done. Then we have another type of loop, which is basically your do while loop. So let's also check with do while loop. So right now, see, for executing your while loop, if the condition is not true, means if the condition is not true, it will not execute it. Okay. So for executing a while loop, you have to make sure that this condition must be true. Then only it will execute. Okay. So if suppose I make this value of I to 5, and then if I try to execute the same program, are you able to see? I am not getting any response. It has halted back and not giving any output. Okay. So this is the case that while will check the condition at first. Now we are going to see about do while loop. Do while loop. There must be a difference. That's why we are using this do while loop, right? So basically this do while loop runs at least once, means at least one time it is going to run, and then it will check the condition after executing the loop one time. So what does it mean? Let me just tell you. Let I equals to 0. Suppose I have created I to 0. Okay. Then I will use do while loop. Why it is do while loop? Because first of all, we have to write the code for do part and then for while condition. So console.log, okay, and here I will just print I value. So at least once means when the value of I is 0, it will execute it without checking any condition, which was not the case in while loop. After initializing a variable in while loop, we have to provide the condition. But you can see this do part is not asking for any condition, right? That's how it is defined, and increase the value of I. Now we have to append the while condition. This is why, that's why it is known as do while loop. And that's why basically it runs at least one time, because condition is checked in this part. Okay. So whatever is written in do loop, you can execute that at once. So while I is less than 5. Okay. What I am doing, I am asking them to initialize the value of I to be 0. Just console that value 0 and increment the value by 1. So I is now from 0 to 1. Okay. And check the condition up to when you have to perform this particular task. Up to when you have to perform this particular task, as soon as the value of I will meet the condition, like I is less than 5. So if I clear the terminal, if I execute this, then you will come to see that it is running from 0 to 4. Yes, it is running from 0 to 4. As soon as I enter a equal sign over here, now you know the answer that it will run up to 5. So yes, from 0 to 5, we are getting it. So these are some basic functions. Okay. These you have to make sure that you know about these types of loops. Yeah. So what we have covered? We have covered for, we have covered while, we have covered do while. Okay. Now we will cover ternary operator. Ternary operator means that basically, first of all, a expression will be evaluated. Okay. And after evaluating that expression, if that is true, then we'll execute another one part. And if that is false, then we'll execute another part. So let's see what I am saying, then it will be more clear to you. If, okay, not if. So just a simple expression. Uh, let x equals to 5. Suppose x is 5. Okay. If x is greater than 3, then I want to console dot log x is greater than 3. Or I can simply console true. Okay. And if that will be false, then I will console false. See what is happening. That in ternary operator, something like this will look like a ternary operator. First of all, whatever is written before this question mark, this is evaluated. So 5 is greater than 3. The condition is true. If this condition or this expression is true, then we will evaluate the part which is written before the colon, means the true part. So then we will evaluate this true part. If this condition is false, in case this condition is true, so we will get true over here. But as this condition will become false, we will evaluate this expression. I will give you a better example so that it will be clear to you. Just once try to execute it and let's see that what we are getting. So as the condition is true right now, so in ternary operation, if the condition or expression is true, it will evaluate the first part. So what is the first part? This is the first part. And it is just consoling true to our page, right? To our terminal. So let's just check with that. And what I have to do for it, I have to just execute this file. So are you able to see we are getting true? Let's now write down another example and then it will be clear to you that how the things are working. Okay. So let age equals to 18. Okay. and I want to check that I am eligible for vote or not. So we can do this same thing with if else loop. If age is greater than 18, you are eligible, else you are not eligible, right? Same thing we can do through ternary operator. What the thing we perform with if else, the same thing we are doing with ternary operator. Just there is a syntax difference. Okay. So let result, I am storing the result and then console it. Now here I will append the ternary operator. Expression is age is greater than 18. That's what we have to check for a eligible candidate to get the vote. If age is, you can say, greater than 18, then we are eligible. So I can simply write you are eligible to vote. Done. After that, if the condition is false, you are not eligible to vote. Okay, perfect. Now we will just execute it. Okay. First of all, the condition is age greater than equals to. Okay. Let's try to execute it. Wait. Why? Okay. So as I am storing the result in this result variable, right? I am, see, this is my ternary operator. Just a second. Let me show you that what is happening. This is my ternary operator. Age is evaluated. Is age equals to or greater than 18? Yes, age is equal to 18. So what will be the output? You are eligible to vote. This output is now stored to your variable result. And to print it in console, you have to use console.log. So console.log and just print the result, right? And if now I execute it, so you are seeing here, you are eligible to vote. Let's change the condition. I am doing the age to 10. Now what will the output? This will get evaluated. If it is true, then this part will be the output. If it is false, then this part will be the output, right? So according to you, what is this condition? 10 is greater than equal to 18. No, as 10 is small than 18, so the condition is false. So based on false condition, we will get this, that you are not eligible to vote. Let's try to see that what we are getting. So here you can see you are not eligible to vote. So yes, it is also working fine. So these are the basic types of loop which you have to keep in your mind, so that in case if you have to write a code regarding any type of looping, then you can write down it easily. Clear, everyone? Whatever we have covered up to now, the basic loops has done. Okay. Now as loops has been done, now we will jump to traditional function versus arrow function. If any one of you have heard about arrow function, then it is good. Otherwise, you will come to know about them now. Okay. So basic function, how does a basic functions look like and how arrow function look like? Let's discuss about that. First of all, what is function if I ask you? A reusable bit of code. Means that whatever code you are writing inside a function, anytime you are calling that function, that block of code will execute. So function are basically the reusable blocks of code. Okay. You don't have to write the same type of code multiple times. Just write it down once, and every time you call that function, it will perform the same functionality for you, so that there will be no overhead of writing the code multiple times. Correct? Let's see. Okay. So let me write a function greet. For writing a function, first of all, you have to give the function keyword and then the name of function. I am writing a function greet. Okay. What it will do? Just a second. It will basically take a argument as name. Okay. And I will just return that name. So return hello. Okay. Hello is there. And then concatenate it with the name variable, right? So what basically I am doing, there were multiple curly braces. Let me just, yeah, do it correct. Okay. See what is happening, that you are having a function greet. Okay. And when as a user, you will call this function with a name, then what will happen? It will print you that name and return you that hello and whatever name you have passed at the call time. Okay, so let's try to call this function. As we know that we have to print this name also. So whatever will come, we will print it. Console.log and just call this greet function inside it with a name, right? So the name will be Vanch, suppose. Okay, and we are good to see the output. Okay, here it is. So are you getting? Hello, Vanch is coming. This is your traditional function. Nothing. What you have done? You have created a normal function. You have passed an argument as a name inside it. And whenever you are calling this function, means greet you are calling, just pass that particular name with that. Okay. So greet name means greet Vansh and it will call the name as Vansh. So return hello Vansh. Hello Vansh is now the output in this particular block. And as you are using console.log, so what it will do, it will console that to your terminal. Okay, perfect. Same thing we are going to write through arrow function. Okay, then only you can understand the difference between the syntax of a arrow function, why we call it a arrow function, and what is a normal function, right? So let's write the same code with that. Const greet arrow. For a arrow function, we are not naming it like greet arrow, like implementation of greet function through an arrow. Okay. Now something like this we have to do. And okay, now why we call it a arrow function? Because a structure like this, see here what you are doing, you are initializing a function. Okay, and you are not giving it any name. This is basically a variable. Okay, const greet arrow is a variable where you are storing your result, right? Now see what is happening. You are creating a function like this only. Uh, Through this opening braces, like this bracket only, you are creating a function, and this arrow is is the notation that it is a arrow function. Okay, so whenever you see a symbol like this, then come to know that it is a arrow function. Okay, now what it will do? In this, you have to define what you want to do with this function. So return me the hello and this name, right? That's what I want to do. And how to call it? That is like this greet arrow. Whenever you call this greet arrow, basically, it will provide you the output accordingly. Give me a second. Okay. So if suppose I have to like call it for the name we have passing. Wait. Okay. And I define a name here. Let name equals to Bhuvit, suppose. Okay. And what I am doing here, I am just calling this name. So I want the value for the name, right? So for value, what I will do, I will just use a dollar symbol. Just a second. You can use a dollar symbol with the curly braces to get the name. Okay, and this will be there. This is known as template literals. Don't worry, I will explain you what is this template literal. Okay, that will be clear to you then. Just give me a second. Let me make it correct. Okay. Hello, the dollar name, and we'll have to remove this. colon from there. Just a second. Okay. We are having some issue with the syntax concrete, and we are creating a name, and after that, yeah, this arrow is not there, so that's why it is showing me the up. Now let's try to run it and see what we are getting. Okay, then I will explain what is happening. So for this, when I'm calling it, I am getting what I am getting, hello bunch only, because we are not consoling whatever is coming through it. So let's also console that. What I have done, console.log greet arrow with the name. So name is already given. Still, we can just pass it with suppose. Okay, let's try what is happening. Wait, it is throwing us an error. Okay, okay, wait. Bhuvid is not defined. Let me just remove this line. Just a second, let's rectify it. Okay, so it is saying that the name is basically not defined. So if I pass this name and then let the name equals to Bhuvit, suppose. Okay, we'll configure it. Just a second. Hello and the name. Right. This is coming. Hmm. Just if I call this greet arrow variable, it, if I do this function greet arrow, it is providing me a function greet arrow. Just a second, like guys, for arrow function, we will write the code one more time. Basically, for syntax, it is like just you have to pass this function name, okay, and accordingly it will provide you that return hello and name. Whenever as a user you are going to pass a particular name to this arrow function, then it will provide you the output accordingly. And what is happening in traditional function, that basically in your traditional function you are not uh, like using any arrow type of symbol, right? There is a proper definition that the function keyword is there, the function name is there also. But in case of this, you can see function keyword is not used. You are directly creating a function with its parameter and using this arrow type symbol to denote that it is a function, and returning whatever you will pass here, it will come over here, right? So this thing is happening over here. So let me first tell you about template literals, and then we will just see how to print this part. Okay, so let's try to first understand about template literals, and then we will come to arrow function once again, so that it will be much clear to you. Okay, so just a second, let's go with the template literal. What is the heading? Template literals. Okay, let's start with it. So basically, see what we have to do. First of all, this is used for string interpolation and multi-line string. Right now, what is happening? If you have to suppose console.log, if you want to console, wait, hello, and in the next line you are writing world. So it is throwing you an error that you can't change the line when you are using double quotes. Okay. So you can't write multiple lines content through normal string codes, right? That is one thing. And also, whatever you write, suppose console.log, I went, I want to evaluate 2 plus 3. Okay. So you can see when I just console it, it will be consoled same. You can see I want the 5 as output, but it is not evaluating the expression. It is directly giving me 2 plus 3. Whatever is written, it is just copying, pasting that to terminal. So that is not good. So here, why we use this template literal for string manipulation, for string interpolation, and to do the multi-line commenting. Let's see that what basically I am saying. Let name equals to 1, suppose. Okay, and let me make it to the string part. Yeah, that is done. After that, what I am doing? Console.log. I want that. First of all, I have to use backticks. What is backticks? There is a tab button in your keyboard. Above that, there is a backtick symbol. Just use that. Then hello. And you have to use something like this. What you have to use? You have to use a dollar symbol. Inside that, an expression like this. See what this line of code will do. This will evaluate that what is basically the value of this name variable which you are using here. So what is the value for it? Vansh. So it will provide me hello Vansh. Okay. But if I use double quotes over here, it will give me the same result like hello dollar and name. So let's try to execute it. Okay, now it will be clear. Just a second. See what I am getting. Hello Vansh. But instead of backticks, see here we are using backticks, right? If I use double quotes, then just see the difference in the output. Then you are come to know that why we use template literal. So it will just giving me hello dollar name. It is not giving me the name Vansh, right? It is just giving me dollar and name. So this is something which we have to check. Okay, that why we use template literal. Another thing is that it will allow us for multi-line comments. Suppose what does it mean by multi-line comments? Wait. Okay. So I want that hello name. After that, welcome to JavaScript tutorial. Okay. Your session. Okay. So you can see now it is not giving the error. Still, if we were doing it through double quotes, on pressing the enter button, I was getting the error that you can't do this. But using template literal, you can provide the output in as many lines as possible, right? So if I also print it, it will become in the same way. Hello Vansh, welcome to JavaScript session. So this is the basic difference between template literal and normal double quotes. Okay. And any expression you are going to write inside it, that will be evaluated. Suppose if I write 2 plus 3 asterisk 5, that will be also evaluated. It is smart. Let's see. Just see that it is giving me 17. How 17? By Bodmas rules, first of all, it is multiplying 5 with the 5 3 is a 15 plus 2 is 17. Okay. So that's how you are getting the output for it. So this is template literal. Just have a look at it, that what is basically we are doing through template literal. And then it will be clear to you. Okay, just check all these things, write another expression and try to evaluate it. This part is important. First of all, you have to use backtick. Then whatever the expression which you have to evaluate, right? That should come inside this dollar and curly parenthesis. Means the thing you know that it will fetch the value from somewhere. It has to be evaluated. That you have to keep in this dollar and curly braces. Hope it is clear. Okay. Now, if that is clear, then let's try to first see that how we were executing arrow function. Okay. Now it will be quite easy for you to understand that how we were using it. Const greet. Wait a second. Const greet, and here I can give the name and I can write the code accordingly. Okay. Like press enter console.log, and here I want hello plus my name. Okay. Yeah. This is what we are doing here. What we are doing that basically I am creating a arrow function, and this arrow function will provide me. I have to close it. Just a second. Okay. Wait a second. I have to close this. Yeah. So now it is done. See what is happening here. That you have created a function greet. Okay. It uh in greet you are storing basically your output. The arrow function is this. It is taking the parameter name. Okay. And console.log hello, and whatever the parameter you send as a user, it will provide you. How to call this? Simply you have to use the keyword where it is storing greet, and here you have to pass your name. Okay. And if I console this, let me clear the terminal. Wait, clear it first and then execute it. So are you able to see? We are getting hello bunch. So basic difference between traditional and arrow function is that there is a syntax different. This is the shorter syntax. Here you don't have to use multiple times your function keyword, right? You are directly defining them the parameter and whatever is the definition for that particular function and calling it accordingly. Okay. This is one thing. Now, one more thing that you can see, we have done it through template literals. Okay. So in that case, we were not using this concatenation operator. Like this plus symbol, we were not using here. It is handling it by default as we were using the and curly parenthesis, right? So this is one thing. I hope that it is clear to you. Yes, so I was saying that in upcoming part, we are basically going to see that how we can just to implement this JavaScript to a particular project. Like when we were going to discuss about React part, okay? In that case, we will learn multiple things also. So these are the basic JavaScript things. Now you can also have an idea that how this arrow function will work. First of all, you have to define that function. Okay, how it is different from traditional function, because here you are not using any function keyword. Here you are using directly this arrow notation that is defining you that there is the definition part of your function. Okay, and whenever you have to call it, you have to call it by the variable name in which you are storing the output and the particular parameter through it is called. I hope it is clear to you, and accordingly you will get the output. Now we will just see a counterpart. Okay, so I am just emptying all these files and will write the code from scratch. Okay, what we will do, we will write index.html, we will write our little bit of CSS for that button part, and then the JavaScript part, so that we can provide the dynamic natures like increase the counter, decrease the counter, and the stuff like that. Clear? So just a second. and we will start with that. Just give me a 2 minute break and then we will start. Up to then, revise all the topics. Okay, so I think we are good to just start with it. First of all, add the boilerplate. You all are familiar with this boilerplate. What we are creating? We are creating a counter to increase or decrease that. Okay. Whatever I write in the body section is basically going inside my web page. Okay. So let's create a heading, H2 heading, counter app, counter app. Okay. Let me make it capital. Okay. After that, I'm creating a div. You all have the idea about div part now, and assigning this a ID so that in styling it will help us. Div with the ID count and will assign the initial value of it to be 0, that the user will get 0 on his screen, and accordingly we have to write the logic for in increase that counter or decrease that counter, right? The logic part we are going to write inside this index.js. The styling part we will write inside the style.css. Right now we are just creating simple buttons for them. Okay, like for increasing the counter and one button for just create a button like this, and on click this button, what we are going to click on that button, a function will be called. What is that function? That function will be, we are going to write in index.javascript. Right now just giving its name. On click, just call the increment function. Okay, and on click, see, there will be two things. First of all, that zero counter is there, then there will be a button through which you are going to increase that, so I am calling it increment button. Okay, and there will be another button which is decrement button. On clicking this, you are going to decrease the number of count. Okay, that is done. Now what we have to do, we have to write some styling part. So let's write some styling. First of all, I am writing for just a second, let me do one thing. That let's see that what is coming, like how it is looking right now. So just a second, it is loading. Counter app is there, 0, increment and decrement. Right now, see, they are not working. So for make them working, to change it dynamically, we have to implement some JavaScript. Okay, that we will see that how we are going to do that. No problem. Simple button is done. Your HTML part is done. Now let's some styling part. For styling, what we are going to use? For styling, we are going to use our style.css and then link it accordingly in our HTML. So let's style the body part first. Okay, I want the body to align text, whatever text is written over there, that to be aligned in center. Okay, after that, I want the background color to be light blue. So what I want, that background color will become light blue. Okay, that is done, right? And also we can add some margin from the top so that it will look good, that we will see some difference in the buttons from the top. So margin top, here they are giving me the suggestions. So margin top and 100 pixels. Okay, that is basically what we are doing. So let's see that how it is looking now. Okay, so to see these changes in our index.html, I have to link it, right? How to link it? Just give a link, then relation as style sheet, right? And after that, what we have to do? We have to provide the hyperlink reference as the name of the file, which is style.css. Correct? style.css is there and just close it. Okay, now we can see the difference. So something like this is coming at our screen. We have defined some styling, and through top margin, we have just provided, like if I inspect it, just a second. If I inspect it, you can see that what top margin has done. So as soon as I have implemented, if I go to here, you can see this is the diff section, okay, which we have provided an ID. And inside this diff section also, we have given them a particular top margin for the separation between them. Okay, quite simple for now, but we have to only know about the functionality, so it is also good. Okay, then what to do now? Now let's see that what we have given the ID for this particular div where the counter button is there. So ID is count. Now I will target this ID. How to target an ID? Using hash symbol, right? Hash count. And now I can write the code for it. So first of all, change the font size. So I want the font size to be, suppose, 40 pixels. Okay, it's up to you that whatever you want. I want to give the margin of 20 pixels so that there will be some spacing part. Okay, and then I want the font bold, uh, font, not front. So I want this font weight to be bold so that it will look quite good. Okay, let's see what are the changes now. So you can see on 0, it is coming good, bold part, so that if we increase it or decrease it, it will look good. Okay, this is good. Now let's try to do some styling to the button part. As button has no ID, so that we can directly target them in index.html. See, to target this element directly, what we have to do, we have to write just simple button over here, right? And now I can do some padding over there. So padding over here of suppose 10 pixels and 20 pixels from the corners, left, right, top, bottom. Okay. Then the font size of suppose 20 pixels. Wait, after the font size, let the cursor to be pointer. As soon as user will go over there on a particular button, it will do it to the cursor type. Cursor type to be pointer. Okay, pointer. It is done. Yes. So what we have done, let's try to see that right now it is coming like this. But as soon as I go to a button, it is changing that to pointer. Okay, that is working. But see, right now they are not working. If I am clicking on a particular button, are you able to see that there is no change in this 0? So let's try to write the code for it now. Here comes index.javascript. Let's write the code for the JavaScript part now. Okay. So initially I want this count to be 0. No problem. Then there is a function which is increment, right? That was the name of our function. Let's check that what was the name, increment or increase, increment. Okay. So on clicking the button, see why I am writing this. On clicking this button, on clicking the button, this function will get called. Okay. So we are writing this function. What is the function name? Increment. Let's write the code for this increment button, that what should happen as soon as user is clicking to that particular button. Just increase the value of count plus plus. Right now count is 0. Just increase that to 1 or 2 or 3 and 4 up to as per the user requirement. Now you have to change that 0. This 0 we have to change to 1. For example, if one time user has increased this count button, so what should happen? If I have like clicked on this increment button, then what should happen? It will change from 0 to 1, right? So for that we are writing the code. We have incremented the value. Now how to insert this value to that 0 part? Let's write the code for it. So there is something called document dot get element by ID. Okay, this is basically some built-in function. So document dot get element by ID, and what is the ID for that div? That was count, right? Get that element by that ID and change its inner HTML or inner text to be the initial value, like the updated value. See what I have done. Let me explain it, then it will be clear to you. For a function, increment function, what I have to done, as soon as user click on this button, the 0 will convert it to 1, right? So what is happening? We have incremented function over here, count plus plus. Initially the value is 0. It will increase it by 1, right? And this document that get element by ID, this basically uh, is targeting to this block now, because inside this div only we have created them, right? This is the div part where the ID of count is given to 0, that we have to change only, right? So I have to change the 0 to 1. So how we are doing it dynamically? We are doing it by document dot get inner element by get element by ID, means where the ID is count, where the ID is count, there you have to change the text. Whatever text is written over there, you have to change that inner text to the current value of count. And what is the current value of count? Up to how many times you have increased that counter. Same code we have to write for our decrement function. So let's write the code for decrement function also. On decrement, what should happen? It should give us count minus minus. Okay, and how it will change it to the 0 part? So document dot get element by ID. So document dot get element by ID, and here we have to provide them this count variable. Count is there, and accordingly change the inner text to the current value of count. So change the inner text to the current value of count. Okay, just close it and we are good to go. Now the code is there. Now there will be one doubt for you, that on clicking the button nothing is happening. Okay, we have write the logic, but why it is not working? Because you haven't linked your index.js file to the index.html file. See, we have write the code, right? But how my HTML part will come to know that there is some logic written inside index.js? Okay, so for that, basically we have to add on these particular script in our index.html. How to add JavaScript part? So for that, you have to use script keyword and give them the source. What is the file name? Index.js. That should be correct. Okay. And just close it. You are now good to go. So if we check it now, okay, what we have done, script we have given, source is index.js, right? This is our index.js file. And here we are closing it. So let me just check. Let me, okay, just a second. If it is link now, what we are doing, increment function is there, decrement function is there, and we are just calling it. So let me just try to see that is it working fine now or not. Okay. So just a second. Yes, so we will restart it once again so that we can see the changes and will come to know that it is working or not. So you can see as soon as I have restarted it, as I'm clicking to this increment button, it is incrementing it, right? When I am, okay, decrementing it, it is not working. So let's see. Okay, it is working, just it is taking some time. Buffer is there. Okay, but when I am clicking to decrement button, yeah, it is not showing. There is something. Okay, this count we have to do it like this. Okay, now it will work fine. See, increment, decrement, increment, decrement. So this is your counter app. This is how you make the website dynamic. This is how you add on some functionality based on few logics. Okay, what we have done, let me just recap. First of all, in our index.html, we have created a div with the ID count. Okay, and initialize it with 0. And there are two buttons for increment and decrement. We have created those buttons over there. If I refresh it, it will be 0. Increment and decrement button are there. I want that as soon as user will click on this increment button, this 0 will update it to 1. As soon as user will click on this decrement button, this 1 will convert it to 0. Okay, that I want. So for that, I have written the logic in index.js. Now see what is the logic. On clicking this button, what they are doing, they are going to this function. Now let's try to see that what is written inside this function. Increment. In increment function, you are incrementing the value by 1. Okay, there is no problem in that. But after incrementing the value, you have to also show it to your web page, right? So for that, you have to write the logic. And this is the logic that document.get element by ID, that element which you have to change. You have assigned them any ID. Okay, just target that element with that ID and change its inner text. Means whatever the text is written over there, change that inner text to the current value of count. That is basically you have done. So as soon as user will click on this increment button, this increment button will call increment function, and increment function will call that you have to change the inner HTML to the current value of count, which is incremented by 1 as soon as user clicked on the increment button, as soon as user initialize this function, right? And what is the same functionality we are doing through decrement, that decrease the count by 1 and change the inner HTML by the current value of count. So if I show you, we are getting the values in minus also. Okay, so it is working fine. So just make sure that each and everything you can see over here. We are like created this counter app and everything is working fine. So this is what we have to cover through the basic JavaScript part. Okay, and all the things which are important for the JavaScript, and we will cover that in the upcoming sessions, like in React. When we will start with React, then you will come to know that how basically we can append multiple dynamic things. Okay, that what is functional component, class component, what is hook, the difference between function and class component. From the tomorrow session, you will come to see that how React plays a vital role in the front end. What is the library of that? It is a library of JavaScript through which we can add dynamic part or create single page applications. So don't worry about that. Just have a look to this session and keep trying doing all this code part. I have created a button like this. You can also implement a button. You can also change the functionality for that button, right? You can create 4 buttons also. So it's up to you that if you want to learn, you are going to practice it at your end, and I can guarantee that it will help you a lot. Okay. So yes, now we are good to just wrap the session. Whenever you feel that there is something that is not clear to you, just pause the video at your end and make sure that you can uh, complete it. Okay, that is important thing. Okay, so thank you so much, and we will connect tomorrow where we are going to cover our React part. First of all, I will let you know how to set up React in your local system. Okay, so we are going to use VS Code React plus White. We are going to install at our end, and then we will cover further things. Okay, so here are the all the codes written for you. Just make sure that you have already l- just gone through each of and every line. See, anyone can write the code, just you have the knowledge that why you are writing this particular thing. Okay, that must be clear in your mind, then only you can implement your logics to a particular project. Okay, so like we will connect tomorrow. Okay, bye. Happy learning.